How long are you going to make me wait?
When I walked through the main entrance of the hospital and reached the lobby in front of the billing counter, I heard a man shouting loudly.
We operate on an appointment basis here. So I told you already, if you don't have an appointment, you'll have to wait.
The receptionist shot back at the man. Other patients in the hallway looked on with annoyed expressions. The man, who had his back to me so I couldn't see his face, was angrily banging on the reception counter.
What did you say? I'm a doctor. I'm not like those retired seniors with nothing better to do. You should be prioritizing me.
He was intimidating the receptionist. He blocked the reception as he continued causing a scene. I did not know what to do. Well, what should I do? To get seen by a doctor, I need to hand in my insurance card and patient ID at the front desk, but I'm scared to go near this angry guy. There are 3 reception counters, but all of them are held up, and a few other patients like me, clutching their ID cards, were standing around, cautiously watching the situation from a distance. The hospital I go to is a private clinic, but it's one of the largest hospitals in the city of Austin. The hospital is designed with the OB/GYN department on the left side of the main entrance, and internal medicine, gastroenterology, and urology on the right side, and it has a reputation for having excellent doctors. The gastroenterology department, in particular, is well known, and patients even come from out of state. Although it's a large hospital, it always puts patients first due to the director's policy, creating a refined and calm atmosphere for those people who visit with health concerns. Because of that, visitors can usually spend their time peacefully in the waiting room, and it's typically very quiet. It's been several months since I started coming here for my prenatal check-ups, but I've never experienced a commotion like this. I'm Sarah. I'm 40 years old and 8 months pregnant now. I'm divorced and remarried my current husband 2 years ago. I work as a nurse, but I'm currently on maternity leave. Being pregnant, I can't risk any unnecessary trouble, so I decided to come back another day. As I made up my mind,
I can help you over here.
a staff member called out to me from a little further away. I sighed in relief and walked over. By the time I finished my checking in, that man was sitting on the sofa in front of the reception desk, looking irritated. I felt relieved that things had finally settled down, but when he sat down, I got a clear view of his face. He looked really familiar, and then it hit me. He was my ex-husband, Jason. What is he doing here? I froze under the shock. I hadn't seen him since we divorced 7 years ago. He looked much older and seemed almost twice as heavy as I remembered. His earlier shouting was in a raspy, hoarse voice, probably from drinking, so I didn't recognize him at first, but there's no doubt it's him. Maybe he felt my gaze because he looked up. The moment our eyes met each other, I quickly turned around. Please don't notice me, I thought, but it was too late.
Is that you, Sarah?
He called out my name loudly from behind me, and I reluctantly turned back. As soon as he saw me, he snorted.
I knew it. I recognized you right away since your face hasn't changed at all. You've always looked older than your age. But what's with that belly? Are you pregnant? You mean you're having a baby at your age? Gross.
I was stunned by my ex-husband's cruel words. I didn't even have a chance to respond. Jason was laughing hysterically, but I had no idea what was so funny. He was probably taking out his frustration on me because the receptionist didn't give him special treatment. He was always like this. Why are you even here? Ignoring his words, I asked him my own question.
Me? Well, that doesn't matter. More importantly, did you get remarried? What kind of man did you parasitize this time? I bet he's just another idiot who'd fall for someone like you. A pathetic moron.
He avoided answering my question and instead mocked me. Criticizing yourself like that must be quite a talent. After all, you're my ex-husband, so you're saying you're pathetic moron yourself. I answered him calmly, and his face turned red as he glared at me.
That's the problem with women. They lose their charm as they age. You used to just cry like a little baby, not daring to talk back.
I didn't want to be that person anymore, so I changed. I'm not the same person I was back then. I won't be your punching bag again. Back when we were married, I was always the target of his anger and frustration. Whenever something went wrong, he would take it out on me with his abusive words. That's who my ex-husband was.
Don't get cocky. Women should just nod and obey men. That receptionist chick too. I told her to make me a priority, and all she did was go on about following the rules.
Rules are rules. It's only natural to prioritize those with appointments. Your clinic also requires an appointment, right? You used to brag about how a 3-month wait was standard. When we were married, he was a doctor at a cosmetic clinic. If he hadn't changed jobs, that's probably still where he works. We met when I was a rookie nurse, and he was a doctor. It was an easy playdate for him, but I was the only one taking it seriously. We got married because we had a baby. He pressured me to get an abortion, but I refused it. My parents and in-laws supported me, and we rushed into marriage, but unfortunately I lost my baby. When I broke down in my tears, he yelled at me.
You trapped me with our marriage. Getting married to you was the biggest mistake of my life.
After that, our married life was a living hell. We divorced after about 2 years, splitting the assets through our lawyer, and I got alimony. I fell into depression, and it took me years to recover. I met my current husband at my new job, and over time, we grew close, got married, and now I'm pregnant, so you never know where life will take you. His clinic also operated on a strict appointment only. I asked him with a hint of sarcasm.
Those stupid women who get cosmetic surgery with the money of their husbands or affair partners, let them wait. They're more grateful that way. It's all part of the business strategy.
Jason tapped his temple with his index finger as he spoke, grinning in that infuriating way of his. You're despicable. Some people genuinely worry about their appearance and pay with their own hard-earned money. I divorced you because I could not stand that about you. I couldn't see through it when we first got married because I was blinded by love, but I grew to hate his attitude of looking down on his patients and prioritizing money over compassion.
I paid you a fair amount of hush money, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad we're done for good.
Hey, what's going on?
Just then, several nurses, doctors, and a security guard arrived. Some doctors hadn't come out when it was just a scuffle at the reception, but I guess the argument had gone on too long, so they trickled out of the consultation rooms. Maybe one of the nurses ran to get them. I felt relieved that reinforcements had come. Seeing Jason again, having him throw insults at me, and the memories of that time flooding back made me anxious and uncomfortable. Thank goodness, everything's going to be okay now. But that moment of relief made me let my guard down, and I blurted out something I shouldn't have. From what I heard earlier, you're not here as a doctor today, but as a patient, right? Aren't you embarrassed causing such a scene? You used to say you'd ban troublemakers from the clinic right away. I should have just cut the conversation short and walked away, but I suddenly remembered our exchange at the reception.
Shut up. People have their reasons. It's none of your business.
He exploded with anger. It seemed like I hit his nerve. He tried to argue back, but the words got caught in his throat, and he glared at me. His eyes drifted down to my belly, and a smirk formed on his face.
Anyway, aren't you like 40 already? I don't know what your circumstances are, but aren't you embarrassed to be pregnant at your age? It's gross, really. Trying for a baby even though you're old and washed up? Your man must have some serious issues to settle for someone like you. If men want kids, they should go for a younger woman, right? At least with a younger woman, they'd have a better chance at a normal baby. You don't even know if an older woman can have a healthy child. Or what? Are you planning to pull the same marriage scam again? Miscarry, and then squeeze some more money out of the guy?
He looked satisfied, like he'd just won a prize. Probably because he thought he'd hit me where it hurt the most. That's awful. That's not true at all. That was all I could manage to say. The shock made me feel like the ground was crumbling beneath me. When I married my ex-husband, I was genuinely happy to be pregnant and thought we could build a happy life together. But look how things turned out. Even now, at 40, I have a lot of worries. I think every day about whether my baby is growing healthy, whether they'll be born safely. Of course, I'd raise them with love no matter what, but I hope they're born without any disabilities. The fears I have now and the painful memories from back then are all jumbled up inside me, and even though I want to respond, I can't get the words out. Even though there are so many people around, it's like the room went completely silent.
Whoever's with someone like you can't be much of a man. I'd love to see the face of that baby's father.
As soon as he said that, the senior doctors around us started to tremble.
Hey, cut it out. What a rude thing to say. That baby's father is.
One of the doctors spoke up, addressing Jason.
What?
Jason looked at the doctor, confused, but my husband, David, continued for him.
I'm the dad of that baby, and I'm Sarah's husband.
Standing beside me in his white coat, he declared it firmly. He was a little out of breath, probably from rushing over here.
It's okay now. I heard everything you said. Don't worry. I understand you've been stressed out, but you can leave the rest to us.
He gently reassured me, knowing how deeply hurt I was.
What? You're a doctor? A doctor from this hospital is your husband?
Jason looked back and forth between David and me in disbelief. Yes, that's right. My husband is the successor of this hospital and a gastroenterologist here.
What? You mean your husband's a gastroenterologist here? Are you saying you're somehow connected to this hospital?
Pretty much, I answered casually. With David beside me, I began to regain my composure. David glared at Jason.
This hospital is a private clinic run by my dad. We have many attending doctors here. I come from a family of doctors, and my sister is the OBGYN who's taking care of Sarah. She's a highly skilled doctor, so Sarah's in good hands. Sarah is currently on leave, but she's also a nurse.
He explained. Then he paused for a moment.
By the way, I heard you're a doctor too. I received your initial symptom questionnaire from the nurse. Since you're in the same profession, I'm sure you'll understand. But I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
No way. I've been waiting for 30 minutes.
Jason immediately complained. You came without your appointment and caused that much trouble just for waiting 30 minutes? I couldn't help but interject.
Shut up. I'm a doctor. I deserve special treatment.
At our hospital, every patient is treated equally. You're here as a patient, not a doctor, so there's no special treatment. Of course, if someone's condition is serious, we change the order of appointments, but you're lively enough to shout like that. You are not an emergency patient.
David remained calm but didn't back down an inch. Jason, desperate for the consultation, started mumbling excuses.
Wait, hold on. That's a problem. I heard this place is the best for cardiology. And anyway, this woman's my ex-wife. So it's not like she isn't used to the way I talk. She knows I'm just joking. Don't you, Sarah?
No way. I shook my head.
No one gets used to abusive words. You can't just pass it off as a joke.
David immediately backed me up and turned to Jason.
Sarah told me about you before. You got divorced because of your emotional abuse and infidelity, and now you want to hurt her again? As Sarah's husband and a doctor, I can't forgive that. I heard most of the story from the nurses, and I could hear your yelling on my way here. Do you really think it's acceptable to verbally abuse women and pregnant women in front of other patients, just because things don't go your way? Isn't that embarrassing?
There are several pregnant women undergoing infertility treatments and expecting mothers like me in the OBGYN waiting room down the hallway.
Please leave. There's an OBGYN department here too. It's not just Sarah. It's unacceptable for other patients to feel uncomfortable because of you. We won't treat you here.
David repeated that Jason should leave.
What? You're just going to turn me away like that?
It's not just like that. It's the result of your behavior up until now. I jumped in it. And David nodded.
If there's no mutual trust, we can't provide medical care. We won't be able to build that trust with you, and you're disrupting the other patients. Problematic patients are not welcome here. If you want, we can write you a referral letter to another hospital. I'll make sure to document in detail why we had to turn you away.
Stop messing around.
I'm serious. Now, please leave.
David pointed to the exit.
Hey, Sarah, say something.
Jason pleaded with me, but I responded coldly. Just go, will you? Like I said before, you and I are done. After all the horrible things you just said, did you think I'd feel like doing you a favor? You can rant all you want here, but no one's going to listen to you. I felt something inside me finally start to heal. Looking at the pathetic sight of Jason, I thought I was truly glad to have cut ties with him. A husband who respects and protects me versus an ex who belittled me and made me suffer. I doubt I'll ever see him again, but even if I did, his words won't hurt me anymore. I feel like I've finally severed ties with the painful past that lingered like a wound inside me. Just then, I heard a small voice from a patient nearby.
Go home.
The voice grew louder until a chant of "Go home" echoed through the room. Jason looked around nervously for a while.
Damn it. I'm never coming back to this hospital. I hope it goes under.
He shouted as he slunk away. Not long after, his cosmetic clinic was on the news for a series of lawsuits over unethical treatments. He'd always been money hungry, aggressively pushing expensive procedures over patient needs, which led to numerous complaints. He was named directly in the lawsuits and ended up in a dire situation. To make matters worse, I heard a rumor that he was now in hospice care. Despite being a doctor, he neglected his own health, avoided hospitals, skipped health checkups, and continued a lifestyle of excessive eating and drinking, self-medicating minor issues. It got to the point where he couldn't ignore it anymore, so he finally came to our hospital, only to make a scene and delay treatment. He ended up collapsing at work, and by the time he got a thorough exam, it was too late. It's the classic case of a doctor neglecting their own health. With a massive debt from the lawsuits, he's just waiting for his end. It's not my concern anymore, but I can't help thinking he lived a miserable life. As for me, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. I had my share of worries until she was born, but she came out as a big baby, just over 9 pounds. She's so lively, sleeps, and breastfeeds well. Taking care of her keeps me busy, and it would be a waste to dwell on the past. Babies are truly precious. All those tough days were worth it for me to finally meet her. From now on, I'm going to cherish every day with my wonderful husband and beautiful daughter, living happily ever after.